Hello guys, what's up? Today we will learn how to install Ubuntu on my Mac as a virtual machine, and we can follow the same steps to install Ubuntu onto some real hardware like x86 or whatever hardwares you have 32-bit. So we go to ubuntu.com/download and we can download a version of our OS which we want to install. I will install 64-bit, which is this one. 32-bit is for 32-bit machines, and 64-bit Mac is for machines, Mac machines wherein you can do it as a dual boot. Since I will not be doing dual boot because I try to toggle between my Mac OS X and my virtual machines, so I always keep running as a virtual machines inside a Mac because I can switch very quickly rather than have to reboot. So once you download and you have the image ready at some locations, you go to your VMware Fusion. So VMware Fusion is a program which you need in Mac to install any virtual machines, particularly Linux, Windows, and different versions of Linux like Mint OS X, Minix. So here I have bunch of them. So I will create a new one. So this is probably an older one, so I will just delete this one so that there's no confusion. I'll go to the file menu, and mind it, this is a new version 7.0 VMware Fusion. If you have an older version 6.0, the options are slightly different, the menu looks slightly different, but most of the options are same. It looks different. Okay, so I say new, and from new I will select more options. So there are different other things like import an existing image which you already have as a vmdk file or from a disk image, but I would like to do more customization. So I will say more options, create a custom virtual machine. Install from boot camp is what you do it as a dual boot, which we will not be doing because I wanted to always let it running. So I click on select create custom virtual machine. I will select Linux as my Ubuntu. If you don't have your, like, let's suppose if you're installing Mint and you don't have it entry here, so you can choose others or anything which reflects like 64-bit. So you can say 2.x.64, whatever matches closely to you. So I select Ubuntu 64-bit since it's already there, and I will say create new virtual disk, and I'll say continue. And next I will do a customizations of the hardware. This will tell me where exactly is the location I want to put. So this is the default location for me. This is good enough. Now this is ready. I'll do some more customizations in terms of processors and memory. So usually it gives 1 GB of memory. I will make it as 2 GB, and then I go back to the customizations, select hard drive, and 220 GB is the default. I'll give 100 GB. I like 100 GB. The other thing I have to do is select CD drive, and I say connect. So this Mac doesn't have a CD drive, so I would choose say connect CD drive, which means it will use my ISO image as a CD drive, and then say select disk image, and in the disk image wherever I have downloaded my Ubuntu from ubuntu.com/download, I will point to that ISO image and say open. And once it's done, then I'm ready to install. But before we go ahead, let's go to the hard disk options once again. There's an advanced options. In advanced options you have pre-allocate disk space and split into multiple files. So if you select split into multiple files, you will have a tons of files like 2 GB files in your VMware folder wherever you have installed, and that looks a little bit dirty, but this is faster. But I don't prefer that. And pre-allocate disk space means, let's suppose if you have chosen 100 GB, if you say pre-allocate, entire 100 GB will be consumed right away. But if you don't do a pre-allocate, and so which means if you're using only 5 GB, so out of 100 GB your VMware will be using just the 5 GB of the space. Also there is a drawback with not choosing pre-allocate, is that okay, you are using less space, but recent version of VMware creates a snapshot automatically, and over a period of time that keeps on growing. So you can experiment with all those things. So let me close this and go with these options. Then select on start button, and from the view choose full screen and let the installations go. So till this point there is a difference between how you install on VMware virtual machines as Fusion or real system. But once you burn your CD, you'll be using your favorite burner like Nero. I use Nero for burning all my ISO image. Then the installations for x86 and for your Mac as a virtual machines remains the same. So you will get a screen like this, and it will give you two options, try or install. When you click on try, it will just do it as a live CD and you are ready to use your Ubuntu, but all the files and folders will not be saved until and unless you mount some of the drives externally. If you want to have a permanent installation, select install Ubuntu, so which I'm going to do now. Now it gives you certain options what to do. Third-party installations, if you want, you can select. If you have already a network capability, you can say download, install. I'll not say all those things, so I'll say just continue. Now here is the important part. It says how Ubuntu is going to be installed. So for a real disk, if you want all your data to be erased, then only you should select this. Otherwise you have to choose which disk you have to install. For virtual machines it doesn't matter because we are giving 100 GB just exclusively for this, so most probably that disk doesn't have anything you have just allocated. So erase disk and install Ubuntu, which is the safest. You can go ahead and do, but I would like my partitions to be laid out in a slightly different way, so I will choose something else. And when I choose something else, so three things I have to necessarily do while creation of partition. I have to create a boot partition, I have to create a root partition, and swap is not necessary, but it's always advisable to have a swap. So I will create partitions now. So this is my device dev sta. It doesn't have any file systems, not mounted, nothing is there. So I'll just say new partition table and I'll say continue, and it has created a free space which I don't want, so I will say revert, and here I will say this new partition table you selected. Okay, with the created partition table, know that you will be undo. Okay, I'll say continue. Then with this free space I will add a partition. So the first partition I will add is 2 GB of my boot partitions. Boot partition is where your grub and the Linux kernels and those things reside. So you have to select /boot. It can't be anything else. It should be primary. You can select beginning of this space, that is fine, that's good, default is good. So my boot partition is created. Now click on free space again and then select swap. So for swap you don't need to select the file system. So what you have to see, you see there's no file system for swap. So what you say is mount point is, sorry, there is a file system for swap. It says swap, but there's no mount point. Swap usually you gives the double of your RAM. So let's suppose you have 2 GB of RAM, so you give like 4096 4 GB of space for swap, but I will not give that much. For me, like I know I have tons of memory, so I will just give 2048. I don't want to waste memory, but you have to see what you can do in your system. Then again, so my swap and boot is ready. Now entire space I can allocate to root, so 103278. So this entire space, ext4 is the file system which we will select, and I'll say root. There are other file systems like ext3 which is older, ext2 is even older, which doesn't have a journaling, so probably not safe. btrfs is new, not much used as of now. It has promising features but not very well tested. And for Ubuntu you may not be able to use FAT32. FAT32 and FAT16s are like extra partitions which you want to use to share files between Windows and Mac and Linux. So I'll just create ext4 and I'm done with that. So once this is done, I can say install now and it will proceed with the installation. I can choose my locations. You can type anything, like if you say, if your location is there like San Jose, so then you can select and say continue. Here you have to select which keyboard type you want to use. I'll leave with default US. Now my name I can write anything. I will say Shack, my computer's name Shack virtual machine. Pick a username, any username you wish to, and any password you wish to. Once this is done, and you might want to choose encrypt my home folder. If you want the entire thing, your home folder, to be encrypted, you can use that, but I find it to be more inconvenient and slow, so I don't use encryptions. Now it is start installing, and you have to wait for probably 15-20 minutes, and once this is done, we come for the next step. So we are back, and it says that we have to restart the system. So it will automatically do that, or you can just say click on restart. So I will click on restart. So sometimes even if your system hangs like this, your virtual machines hang, you can always go to the top, you select a virtual machine, and you can either say suspend or restart. In this case I would say restart. So probably all the installations has been done, but I don't know, for any reasons it got hanged at this point. So I'll say click restart, which is like powering off your machine physically, and let's see what comes up. So my Ubuntu looks to have been booted, and you can see my username is being displayed, and I can use my password which I have given at the time of installation to log in. So once I have given everything, it is coming up. So it will have the Unity interface, and you can see this is a new Unity interface. Earlier we used to have GNOME and KDE. I am actually a fan of KDE, so I don't like Unity much, but you can do your customizations and install KDE on this. And probably if you want to do some command line programs, you can type xterm. So they don't have a console by default ready, but xterm is a program you can use to do some installations, and you can use apt-get to update the software or to install something new. So let's see what is here. So it has a bunch of folders pre-created for you for different functions, for different reasons, like videos for any video files, pictures for picture files, music folders, and you can navigate your Ubuntu. So you have a Firefox also, you can go ahead and navigate and see what best you can do out of it. So that's it. It's very easy and simple to install. Now if you want to shut down your virtual machine, it's always advisable to shut down using a virtual machines menu, or you can do a shutdown from the command prompt. So you can say sudo shutdown, and you can say -h0, -h is for halt, and you can see that you by default the username which you have created has already been created as a sudo user in vsudo. So Ubuntu does it for you. Fedora doesn't do it, you have to do it explicitly, but Ubuntu does it for you, so you can shut down. And also once your installation is complete, you can install a virtual machine tool. So if you see right now, I don't have the entire screen being occupied by my Ubuntu. That's because resolution is not proper. So to have the graphics card and everything set up properly, you can go to virtual machine and you can say install VMware tools. So we'll quickly see what this guy is doing. So once you click on that, you will be pop up for a download, and you say download. Once the download is complete, you can untar that to a desktop and install from the command prompt, or you can double click as a autorun.sh I believe, and you can install. and in the next reboot you will get your screen as a full size and you can set different kinds of resolutions. So this password is for my Mac. So that's it. So you can install it, you can navigate and do whatever you wish to. So thanks all for my video. If you like it, give a hands up.